Today, what I actually want to talk about is a recent bill or recent legislation that was passed in the CT legislature. So for anyone who does not know, there was a special session recently called. And during that legislative session, they passed quite a few pieces of legislation. Woo! Some of these pieces of legislation were more controversial than others, but as far as I can tell, the most universally popular piece of legislation that was passed was one that specifically focused on behavioral services and autistic individuals. Specifically, there was a change where the CT bill expands private insurance coverage to provide services to autistic individuals up to age 26 instead of 21. Now, this might sound kind of small, but what this is real progress. This is not arguments. This is not cultural shift in opinions. This is policy change that will affect people's lives in incredible ways. It is very common that transition, that transition from your teens into your 20s is some of the hardest parts for autistic individuals. We're already struggling with transitions. You add in the transitions of college, of being seen as an adult, of being active in politics, at the least through voting. You talk about other types of being an adult, having credit cards. There's so many things that come into our life in our late teens into 20s. And to put on top of all of that an extra difficulty covering services, that hurts a lot of people. Getting good responses. That legitimately hurts a lot of people. I've seen so many people struggle as their resources faded away at the moments where they really needed them most, when they were first starting to define what the rest of their life was going to look like for themselves. And this is just another way to make this complicated and difficult. By expanding to 26, that's not going to fix things. In my opinion, it should extend further. But what this will do is it will genuinely affect people's lives in meaningful ways. That is loving your neighbor as policy. I talked about our universal child care program recently. I see them the same. There are legislation that I think are about loving your neighbor that are controversial. But sometimes there's not. Sometimes there's legislation where we can all agree is important, but we have to remember to push for it as policy. We can't leave it on this corner. We can't leave it in our conversations. We can't leave it on Facebook. We can't even leave it in actually helping people, because we also need to push to change the systems, to make sure they're better even when we're not there to help. I think it's really important for us to recognize how important turning love your neighbor into policy is, because we can affect a lot of people on this corner, but I don't think we can dream to affect as many people as this piece of legislation will. And it is the result of conversations we've had in this corner, of activists, of people advocating for human rights to support our most vulnerable communities. But I think it's a great reminder of where one of the directions, at least, that this needs to go. There's a lot of things we can accomplish on this corner, but we cannot forget about how important policy is as one of those accomplishments. So thank you so much.